Welcome back, everyone. This is Earl Inforce with Actio Solutions. This is our third iteration, Data Phases, for our Datascope 101 series. We're excited to have everyone back. We hope you enjoyed the discussions thus far. Today, we're going to dig into the four distinct phases of any type of analysis that uses data. So let's jump right into it. So what data phases? So you might be asking, what does that mean? So let's pull that out a little bit here. So it starts with a series of questions. You have to ask yourself, what is the problem? What is the decision we're trying to make? You don't just jump into a data set and say, hey, tell me something about it. There needs to be something definitive about what you're trying to investigate or achieve. So we call this the problem identification phase. All right, and again, this is typically with your process owners that share that with you as a data analyst. So the next question you ask is, where is the data? The data needs to exist. The data needs to be something tangible, something that you can really be able to get your hands on so that you can start the analysis. Why? Because you want to validate that problem statement. Right? So problem validation is the second phase of this four-stage process. And what are you doing in this stage? Well, you're digging into the access and the quality characteristics. Access, is it something that you're going to have to manually support? Is it something that has an API? The quality, do you have accurate, complete, timely information? These are the things that can determine whether you're going to have a solid analysis to complete or whether there are gaps and holes. So the third phase, we're talking about what does it show? This is the results. Right? This is proving the problem statement, demonstrating the problem statement. We call that analysis assessment. You're using the data that you have available to show that, hey, yes, this is this state of the problem, and this is the degree to which it exists. So that leads us into the last stage. So what does it all mean? Right? So this is where it really becomes a higher level of investigation and analysis, and we're calling that analysis enrichment. That's where you're pulling in all of the other factors that may exist and determining whether or not there's a relationship between factors. So why? Well, it's predictive. And if you can find a cause and effect type relationship between data, well, that might lead to preventing a problem from occurring in the first place, or at least having enough insight that you know that it's coming down the pike. So let's talk about the people, process, and technology factors that go with each of these four stages. So with problem identification, the people that you're typically working with, as we said at the beginning, is process owners, your system owners, your program managers, the people that are closest to the problem, and they can articulate that problem to you so that you get an idea of what it is that they're trying to show. Process, well, these are the things that are generating the process. So this is coming from your functional work areas, this is coming from regulatory compliance, this is coming from your management framework, operations readiness. These are all the facets and pieces of the business that generate data. These are your processes. Technology, so where does this data reside? Well, typically these are in databases or these are in systems of record that hold the data that are tied to the problem statement. So let's dig into people for problem validation. Well, these are the folks that are actually going to use that data. So we have the systems analyst, we have the cyber analyst, we have the data analyst, and we have the system and network subject matter experts that are going to assist in getting you access to that data. Right? Typically, the folks that are doing the analysis and the engineers that are working hard to make sure that you can get to the data work together. They complement each other, but they are not one and the same. There are no unicorns in this business. So process for problem validation. Well, this is your data quality inspection. Again, this, is it accurate? Is it timely? Is it complete? Do you see issues with the data? All right, so this is problem alignment. You're taking the data. This is part of the validation phase, where you're taking the data and you're looking to see, do I have attributes of that problem that exist in the data, and are they discoverable, and are they clearly evident? You're looking at your data feed health. If this is going to be an enduring piece of your project for analysis, it's not just a one-time shot, and you want to continue doing the analysis, well, then the quality of that data feed is going to be of utmost importance. And then system training. All right, this is where if you need to have some type of exposure to understand what type of training you need to better understand how to get to the data and how to export the data, well, that's where it may be a factor. So some of the technologies that are out there in the field, in private industry and in government, Microsoft Azure, you have the Amazon Web Services. These are the platforms that are out there. Some of your big data platforms, Dataverse, just to name a few. These are platforms that host data. So let's go down to analysis assessment, into that third stage. So this is where your system and network engineers are going to come into play again, because now you're moving data. That now you're getting the data into the right hands so that the analysis can be conducted. All right, and this is where you're going to be reporting through the data managers and the analysts. This is where your ratios, your percentages, your qualifiers, the degree to which the problem is evident. There isn't a deep dive like you'll get to in the fourth stage with analysis enrichment, but there is enough analysis to warrant explaining to what degree does this problem exist, and summarizations. So your system proponents are involved in this, your functional leads are involved in this, but the biggest roles are your data managers and your analysts, because they're the ones that are actually going to provide that initial assessment as part of stage one. So the processes that are associated with that, well, this is where you're doing your manual, your automated data exports, the continuity of those. Again, your counts, percentages modeling, that's going to be typically done by your data managers and analysts. Dashboard creation, these are your summarization with the visualization, delivery design in mind. And then in terms of skills training, that you might need some analysis skills training, just especially if you're using some of the tools that we're going to get to here in the next part of this pillar. So some of the tools that are out there for this stage, we've got Power BI Desktop, we've got Excel Access. I mean, those are the two most common that are out there. PowerShell, which is a coding language as well, typically in the Microsoft world. And then system APIs, that's a general statement for application programming interface, and that's what enables you to get to data seamless and unfettered access. Or in some cases, you have a vetted access being token-based or some type of account-driven design. So now we're going to get down into the last, and this I call this getting to the meat of the analysis. And these roles that we've talked about so far, you might have some people that are wearing the same hat, but in a well-structured team, this might be a progression path. But these folks, you have your data scientist, you have your KM, your portal manager. These are the folks that are organizing the information. You have the database developers, you have the application developers. These are the folks that are working together to aggregate, to munge, to combine that data so that you can really get to some insight onto to what's happening. And again, the cause and effect, the preventive piece of this, the predictive piece of forecasting, that's really the pinnacle of your analysis if you can get to this stage. So some of the processes I use is a cause and effect validation. We just talked about that a little bit. Data aggregation, munging, talked about that as well. Visualization optimizations. How are you going to build your visuals to really show some of the features of predictive and relationship building? Statistical significance modeling. Things that are related. Well, to what degree are they related with a 99% confidence rating, or are they, and in terms of confidence, you sometimes hear folks advertising AI, machine learning with reliability. That's really statistical confidence. So again, to what degree? To what degree do we feel that the analysis is right and an error check that goes with it? We want to minimize that error check. Trending and forecasting, again, why? So that you can see the problems coming and you can become more proactive versus reactive. So the last piece of this is technology, and with machine learning and artificial intelligence features that are out there now, there's many platforms that really facilitate that level of analysis. So you have Power BI Premium, which is a Microsoft product, SharePoint Online, another Microsoft product, Power Apps, Automate, R Python coding, which is really the root of much of your data science work that's out there, and really complements some of the things that you're doing in the ELK, Elasticsearch, Logstash, Kibana, some of the more robust platforms that are out there with the Microsoft whole array of tools with Dataverse, with Power BI Premium Capacity, all of these things that are out there. But R and Python is the coding that will allow you to actually do that stochastic statistical analysis. In general, these are big data platforms. All right? You're not just loading the data, but you're also putting it in for analysis to make sure that everything is complete, and the sustainability model that goes with that is in place for your enduring analysis if it is needed. So to summarize this slide, these are all interdependent, and you could say they're stepping stones. And I'll reemphasize this again, that you might have a small group of folks that can do all 4 of these stages with all roles in the people, process, technology framework, but a well-designed team, a well-structured team, so that you can have clear lines of roles and responsibilities, and divide up that work, that distribution of work. Because some of these things can happen and will happen in parallel. So to get your project on point, these are all the factors that you want to consider before you go into a deeper level of analysis. So in our world, when we have this in place, well, what does it do? Well, it provides us an information advantage. Some say these are buzzwords, but that's what it is. Going back to our previous Datascope session where we talk about the escalation of data to information to knowledge, it definitely gives us an information advantage. Decision dominance is another term, expression that you may hear out there. Decision dominance, why? Because if you understand your problems and you can see them coming in an analytical way, well, then that gives you the power of decision, hence the dominance in your day-to-day business. So all of these work together. They're a driving force. It's a very good model to have in your kit bag as you start to build your team and frame out how you're going to work your analysis. So team, that brings us to the end of this session. Hope you've enjoyed listening. Again, this piece is a really important part of making sure that your analysis, your planning for your analysis, is done appropriately up front. Coming up with session 4, the people pillar, we're going to dig into that some more, because really in the people process technology framework, if you have your processes and technology in place, they don't run on autopilot. You still need the people in that 3-legged stool to make things work. So we're going to close this out. Again, Earl Linforth with Actio Solutions. Appreciate you joining and staying with us. Hope this is of value, and we'll tune in and catch you later. Thank you for listening.